So you think you want to homeschool. This is a series of talks under Angela's Homeschool. Now, I'm thinking about comparing homeschooling to public school. You know, the reasons to homeschool. It's for the education of our children, of course, but if you're looking at the 10 reasons to homeschool over public school, you can look at class size. And if you ask any teacher what's the most important factor in education, more than likely they're going to put class size in the top 3. I mean, that's key. Individual attention to the student. And I think the best ratio is 1-on-1. Now, for those families that have 10 children or more, you know, you can still do this. I suggest a lot of switched on schoolhouse, though. Or, goodness, you know, the type of curriculum where you can do a unit study that everybody's studying the same thing, but just at their own level. The Weaver curriculum, I would highly recommend for that. But, you know, some classrooms it's reasonable, 14 to 1, or 1 to 14 students in a public school. That's rather good. But truthfully, we don't see that too often. So that's one of the reasons to homeschool over public school. And if you look at the traditions of the public school, how they had the whole summer off, I think it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. That goes back to when people would farm the land. You know, back to the 1920s when the people had to work together as a family to raise a crop, you know, get the hay into the bales, hay baling, and all that stuff they used to do. And I don't think it applies to society today. I think, you know, the 9 weeks on, 4 weeks off is rather a good method to go by. We do around the year schooling ourselves. In our state, we have to provide that we've homeschooled for 180 days and provide documentation. In the state of Oklahoma, it's very easy to homeschool. That's all you have to provide. If anyone should ask by law, that's all you have to provide in the state of Oklahoma. So I just... You know, let's go to the future. The schools really are stuck in the past. The public schools, that is. And another reason to homeschool is if you group students into similar age groups, it shows the maturity of the group as a whole. There's many homeschooled children that everyone says, oh, they have such nice manners, or they're very much better socialized than the public school kids, and you don't have that problem of who's going out with who, and you know, that level of maturity that maybe you do not want in your 8-year-old child. It's time to bring innocence back to children. It's been taken away for far too long. And priorities. It's another reason to homeschool over public school. Though there are some public schools that fully involve the parent and the child, and it does take quite a bit of work. When you work one-on-one with your child, you being the parent, you can set goals. You can have your list of priorities, standards that you want to meet for that year. And it can be more. They can learn about starting a business, writing a business plan when they're just 8 or 9. They can write a book by 7, and you can get it published. You know, these are accessible priorities and goals. And if you look at the structure of the public schools, they are very authoritarian. And 70% of homeschool graduates go into the liberal arts field. You know, they're more sensory prone. They're a different cast of characters, so to speak. But perhaps being in a public school, they would be more streamlined into thinking like the sheep. You know, why not lead? Why do you always have to follow? Now, standardized testing, when I think about public schools, that's the first thought that comes to mind. They're teaching to test rather than teaching for life skills, teaching for a career. It didn't used to be this way. It was the No Child Left Behind that created this fiasco with the public schools. I rather feel sorry for the teachers. They're stuck in this position where they had to teach the child to learn how to test, how to take a test, to know the appropriate material. And when you're just memorizing facts, that's not truly learning. And if you, again, talking about the standardized testing, let's go to another reason to homeschool. The bell curve, it's very inconsistent. It needs to be straight across the board. And it's inconsistent in the public schools, very inconsistent. It's hard to come by an excellent teacher in the public schools. And if you're lucky, you'll have one, and then you have 4 or 5 horrible ones. And it's just very inconsistent, staying with one teacher or one co-op. A co-op is a group of parents that meet together usually once a week. And some parents may have more expertise in one area or the other. Perhaps someone's gotten their degree in biochemistry or mathematics and drama. All these different aspects that perhaps one teacher cannot teach. So that's why we have the co-ops. And that can keep it more consistent. And, when they group the children by ages in the public schools, and all this peer pressure, it's tremendous. It's a very smart thing to homeschool. You don't have the peer pressure. It's a child's allowed to be a child. And then often, they'll have the sit-down meeting at the end of the year where they decide if little Johnny or little Susie is prepared to go to the next level, the next grade. Perhaps they're not with it socially, but they're academically further along. And with a homeschool program, you can cater the curriculum to meet the child's needs. And there's homeschool groups, also support groups for socialization. There's different things you can do. There's PE classes. You have more creativity with a homeschool program than one does with a public school program. You get to pick your child's curriculum. I mean, how wonderful is that? You also get to pay for it, which is kind of not the best thing. But speaking about curriculum, another reason to homeschool is that the curriculum that they have in the public school series today, it has been dumbed down. They are truly teaching to test. If you look at the curriculum, sometimes the science curriculum is completely erroneous. It just depends on the flavor of the area. Perhaps they're tree huggers, perhaps they're not. Maybe if you're down in Texas, you have a public school that believes in creationism. I'm not a fan of it, and some homeschoolers do study creationism. They should be studied as a theory, is my opinion. So, like in a basketball court, just because the child's short, you don't automatically lower the basketball goal, do you? Well, that's what's happening in the public schools. They are lowering the expectations to suit their needs, to meet those tests, the testing curriculum. That's what it should be called, the testing curriculum, not the Common Core. Common Core curriculum is what I'm referring to. And then, of course, the number one reason, at least for some people, is the political agendas that they have in the public school. We're talking about critical race theory that's within the Common Core curriculum. Now, when I started homeschooling my children, it was for physical safety. You don't have to worry about the shooters at home. Well, hopefully you don't. I pray that you don't, but yeah, this is just a little podcast on some reasons to homeschool over public school. There are just some reasons. I forgot to see if there's anybody in the chat. But this is something that's near and dear to my heart. And one of the best reasons, I think, to homeschool is because you can go out there in life and they can learn life lessons. You can travel. What better way to learn but by immersion, like going to the Capitol and going down the National Mall. We'll be doing that in the spring, and I'm so looking forward to it. They can touch history. They can see the Liberty Bell, where we'll go to Philadelphia. I'm so excited about this opportunity. Even at age 10, my oldest was testing at a college sophomore level in reading comprehension. I cannot tell you the possibilities. I think that's what it comes down to, that with homeschooling, the possibilities are endless. But in a rigid, authoritative public school, where they set the boundaries, they set the curriculum, it's often seen as a restrictive environment. And if you think of the person that started the public school, it was at the very same year. It was 1907, same year as they redesigned the federal penal correction systems. And there's a lot of correlations between prison and public school. The way they walk in the hallways, the hands behind the back, single line. And there's a lot of correlations, truly a lot of correlations. It's a lot of bureaucracy. And if you're not a pencil pusher, a paper pusher rather, I want you to have an open mind and think about homeschooling as an option, truly an option. And it may be a good fit for your family, and it may not. You may have questions such as, I work. How can I homeschool at the same time? It can be done, usually through online schools. And there's free ones on the internet, like Khan Academy. The Ron Paul has a homeschool. It's free up to the 6th grade. And it's really good on... really good on history. I'm really supposed to push that homeschool. I should have Tom Woods on in the future. He's the one that helped design that program. And it's very strong on history. I cannot tell you how it's strong. But you don't have to feel alone in this journey. So until next time, we will talk this out and we'll learn how to do our lesson plans and set up our expectations for our children. Because if you do not expect more of your children, no one else will, especially if they're in the public school. No one's going to expect more out of your child than you. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned through our homeschool career, which we're still doing. It's been, 8 years that I've been doing this. And you could have heard my scream halfway around the world. You really could have. This was not something I picked. It picked me. And sometimes the best things in life, they pick you. So if you're wondering what to do, and as if this could be an option, send me a question. Send me a series of questions. And I'll be happy to discuss them with you. Or perhaps we can talk it out. You can call in. So until next time, let's learn our lessons.